2016's Doom is a middle finger to the modern video game. From the rejection of cinematic cutscenes to the silent, destructive protagonist, this is a game focused on delivering a pure hands-to-controller gaming experience. Just look at how Doom begins. You're shackled to a table and in the space of a couple of minutes, you've already crushed demonic skulls and acquired the franchise legendary shotgun. No cinematic cutscenes, no dialogue heavy exchange, just you, your bullets and some demons. There's one moment in Doom that has been stuck in my mind for a long while now. You're playing as Doom Guy, while Samuel Hayden, the voice that follows you around, orders you to carefully release the hinges on an object. Now take a look at what happens.
We're only temporarily disabling the tower. You need to remove each lens individually. Carefully release the hinges.
Warning. Energy contamination detected.
Instead of listening to him, you just straight up crush the object and continue with your journey. This is Doom in microcosm, an exercise in simply not giving a fuck. An exercise in getting on with the damn thing and destroying everything in your path. It doesn't make any attempt in humanizing your protagonist, and by doing that, it actually makes his journey more compelling. After all, Doom Guy is confused and angry, so it's only fair that his journey be uninterrupted and his path of destruction totally seamless. The game wants and requires you to cause chaos. If it were to inject cutscenes and make a cinematic journey out of the story, you would lose momentum. Doom Guy would lose momentum in his journey. This breakneck, cutthroat speed is the reason why Doom stood out above most games for me last year. By rejecting the typical structure of the modern video game, essentially remaining true to its franchise, Doom excels. It offers not only a freshness to the player, but an experience that requires your eyes to be glued to the screen at all time. I honestly cannot remember the last time my fingers ached from constantly being attached to my pad. Doom manages to be a throwback to times past, but also paves the way for gaming without restrictions and pauses. The 60 frames per second also helps reinforce the fluidity and speed of the game. The sound design though, I feel helps thrust this idea forward. When the game starts out, you're greeted with Mick Gordon's heavy metal soundtrack, but as it progresses, the music gets louder and more elaborate, the stakes grow bigger, and the sound certainly reflects that. By your final boss fight, the rhythm of the music is what keeps you alive. Or at least it did me. Utilizing the music as a means of finding rhythm and reminding yourself of the necessity of movement certainly aids any fight in this game. Very rarely do we sit for a video game and hear something so unadulterated and unabashedly loud. We're either given something cinematic akin to a film score, or we're dropped in with something emotionally manipulative. There's nothing wrong with either, and this isn't an attack on cinematic gaming. It's rather a love letter to the balls to the wall craziness of Doom. What's interesting is that the soundtrack to most games reflects where you are, rather than what you're doing. What I love most is that Doom is a game that encourages you to explore, supported by the Easter eggs and various Doom Guy models scattered around the map. But its levels are designed to discourage hiding. Everywhere you go, it's open season. Enemies will fly your way. It keeps the speed of the game ticking, but also pushes players to resoundingly defeat every single enemy rather than running away from conflict. And how about those mechanics? You can't take cover, you can't reload. The game takes pleasure in being batshit crazy. By forcing the player to constantly move and constantly shoot, the requirement for there to be an expansive storyline and cinematic cutscene is therefore void. Listen, Doom ends on a fucking cliffhanger. There is literally zero resolution to the story, yet the majority of people seem to love that. Why? Because nobody cares about the story. It's merely a vessel for either theorizing or simply ignoring, but it isn't a requirement for you to be able to blitz through the game. Instead of having Samuel Hayden backstab you in the end or become the final boss, he just walks away. The devs were ballsy as hell with this game. There are so many moments where it can descend into your atypical action title or lose itself in its own narrative, but instead it rejects all of those things for the sake of one: adrenaline pumping gaming.